Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to go over my 15 years on good old games. They came out in 2008 and I didn't discover them till the following year in 2009 and then started buying stuff off there because I loved these old games. And a lot of them I may have played on abandonware sites and I wanted to clear my conscience and actually buy them physically if it possibly was, or digitally as it may be in this case. So my collection currently is sitting at 518 games, and that's purchased over 15 years of gaming. So we're going to do some math at the end. But starting out, these are the first games I ever got. There was a pinball, Beneath Steel Sky, I think it was free. Let's see, the Tex Murphy game, Space Quest bundles, Police Quest bundles, King's Quest. It's going to be hard for me to go through all this really fast, but a lot of the early games were in bundles, and they were a lot of Sierra games at first, which really kicked it off. Psychonauts was a big game at the time to get for just a few dollars. What do we got? Quest for Glory. Oh yeah, then they started selling some of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So you got Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights and stuff like that. Um, Boy, Planescape Torment. I did not have that. That's a really cool game. It's like one of my favorites now. A lot of point and click games. There was the new Sam and Max games that were coming out over the last few years. The Leisure Suit Larry, I had played several of those through abandonware. I think most of us did. So it was nice to actually buy those. Sensible Soccer, so cool. I don't even like soccer that much, but I love Sensible Soccer. Wing Commander, Might and Magic games. My goodness. So this stuff is all stuff I would have bought back in 2009, 2010. Some of these were freebies too that they would give away. Simon the Sorcerer, Fallout. I have Fallout 1 and 2 physically, but I thought it was so easy just to buy them this way and be able to install them on newer systems. Dungeon Keeper, Tomb Raider, the original 3 series. Darkstone I used to have. Some of these games I sold way back when GameStop used to take PC games too. The Back to the Future game that was re-released. Silver was really neat. The Ultima series. I do have that, and it's really hard to get those running, so it was nice to get those. Mortal Kombat series again, some of the Indiana Jones games. By then, they were putting out things like the Lego games, so the Harry Potter series were really cheap. Toonstruck I'd never played, so that was pretty cool. More Tex Murphy games came along, or they've been in there, but I'd sit on them until they went on deal. A lot of stuff used to be only $1.50 for games when they went on sale. Broken Sword, oh, the E-Series stuff, those are must-haves. Then more of the old school Dungeons and Dragons games that came in some bundles. Pirates and Pirates Gold. Some of these you'd buy and you get both versions. System Shock, Grim Fandango. I'm falling behind already. Twin Sin Adventure, I played that a little. I don't know if I quite get it. The Star Trek Anniversary game, that's right. That had the whole cast in it still. Duke Nukem games. You can't even get some of these anymore on here. I don't think Balls of Steel is available anymore. You know, you got to buy these when they're there so you have access to them. Phantasmagoria, more Sierra stuff. Day of the Tentacle. I already had a lot of those, but it was so much easier just to have these versions that installed real quickly on your systems. Again, more Dungeons and Dragons classics. Boy, they put out a lot back in the old days, so it was great to see these bundles come through. Stardew Valley was a big get for them. You know, they started getting more modern games over time. XCOM series. I mean, how do you not? Oh, I can't keep up. The pinball, pro pinball. You've got to get those. Thimbleweed Park, Starflight, Indiana Jones games. I'm always looking for those. And you'll see a few weird ones in there because they were kind of freebies and you just take them. Let's see. So we got Theme Hospital. I didn't have a lot of those games. I may have played one in the past. So Freddy Farkas. My dad had that game, so I played it through him. Roller Coaster Tycoon games, The Incredible Machine. It was great because I do have some of these on disc, but they don't run really well. They're very difficult to get running, so it's nice to have the installers they got. Alan Wake. You can start seeing some more modern games. I don't know if it's modern anymore. Lords of the Realm I used to have in the old days. Those were really great strategy games. MDK. Limbo, a more kind of slightly modern one. The Sim Cities were coming out. Legos for Indiana Jones. More Ease games. Beyond Good and Evil. My brother had that and told me how good it was on the GameCube, but it's too expensive, so I got it on here for just a couple bucks. Magic Carpet. The Doom games are coming out. Star Wars, TIE Fighter stuff, X-Wing, all those were coming out. geez, I'm trying to remember back when these things started showing up. So they'd show up and I'd be excited about them and I'd just put them in the wish list and wait for them to drop down to maybe a couple dollars. Nowadays, games don't drop that low usually. They still do sometimes, but you got to just be patient and put them in your wish list and wait it out. The Seventh Guest, a lot of stuff that here's the thing. I mean, you can spend $60 on a new game, or you can spend a few bucks on a game and still get hours of enjoyment from it, even if you don't play the whole thing. I started getting into these old games like the Jazz Jackrabbit and stuff like that, like those DOS games like that, like the original Duke Nukem and stuff. Blade Runner finally came out a few years ago. That was fantastic to have. I've always wanted that. Undertale, the Humans, that's an old one. Undertale, a little more modern. You've got more Might and Magic series. Every time these little bundles, like you get a bundle of 3 games when they go on sale, I would buy those when we went down to cheap. Pod Racer is what I used to call the Star Wars Racer. I think I downloaded that off a Whereas site long ago, so I always felt bad about it. So it was nice to be able to actually buy it. The Shadowrun games are beautiful. Mortal Kombat 4, a lot of people hated that, but I thought it was really good. Another Whereas site one that I had downloaded long ago, clearing my conscience these days by buying these again, but not spending like $50 like they would have been, or $40 when they came out. Commander Keen stuff, Worms games, which I didn't play the original ones back then. So I start dabbling into more stuff that I've never played before, like the Dracula, the Colonel's Bequest, Last Express. I like a lot of point and click. Lynx 386 Pro. I still have some of these, but it's much easier to install them this way. More of the newer Tomb Raider ones that had come out. I started looking for a lot of horror games on here, like the Waxworks one. Alien Breed really surprised me. I'd never played it before, but it's super fun. What else do we have here? See, some of these were like freebies when they do their sales. They'd give a freebie away, like Airline Tycoon Deluxe. I wouldn't have bought that, but Guruman is really cool. It was an expensive game on the 3DS, I believe, or the DS, and it was on here for a much better price. And then Draken, that's a game that I had on the Super Nintendo way back, but I bought it because it was on the computer here, and it was only $1, I think. Fallout New Vegas stuff. I mean, you can see they're getting into what would be considered somewhat newer stuff. Haven Park, I believe, was a giveaway that was just fantastic. That might have been through Prime Gaming. I thought it was wicked fun. Always Awakening, I bought that for $1.50 again when they went on sale. And you're starting to see more of me getting into the games that were freebies from either the company themselves or through Prime Gaming. I got a lot of free gaming over the last year or two from Prime Gaming. And every once in a while, I'd go in and I'd buy stuff like North and South, which I never got to play back in the day, and BioForge. Graveyard Keeper was another freebie. And, it's just amazing how many freebies are coming through Prime Gaming these days. Lord of the Rings, Tomb Raider. I mean, the vast majority. More recently, the ones I bought, like my daughter wanted Mail Time, so I bought that, and it's great because we can download it on any system and play it. I bought the Elvira games finally. They never came down in price much, but I finally just bit the bullet because I was getting so many freebies through them. Curse to Golf was free. Strange Horticulture we bought. Mafia is my most recent game. It's still available. And I just bought Commandos recently, Shivers, and Heart of China. Those are ones I've been waiting on. And I had gotten a $2 discount from Good Old Games out of the blue. They just sent me a coupon. So when I bundled those up in the sale, it got closer to maybe just about $2.50, $3 a game, which is a little pricier than I usually want to pay. I'm always trying to look for games that are just a couple of dollars or less. And I think overall, I've probably averaged under $2 a game over the years. So if I calculate this out, so $2 times the 518, I've spent over 15 years, just over $1,000. So that doesn't seem to be too much to me when you're talking about 15 years of gaming. So let's divide that by the 15 years. So just under $70. And a brand new game these days is $70. I'm not saying these are as quality as that, but Let's divide that by 12. So how much was I spending a month? So I've spent just under $6 a month. $6 a month over 15 years, which is what's that? A dollar, $1.25, $1.30 a week, which is nothing. So, and then let's take that and divide the games. So every year I'm getting about 34 to 35 games. So every month I'm getting just under 3 games a month. So that's pretty good. And again, I I'm very frugal on this. I never buy games new because they go on sale so often. I mean, you're tempted sometimes when something that you haven't seen in a long time, but I always remind myself, hey, I got too many games to play already. I just want to have these. And when you spend $1.50 to $2 on an old game like this, it doesn't break the bank. It's very enjoyable to just be able to take a game that's a classic. And even if you only play it for 2 or 3 hours just to see or experience a little bit of it. I mean, some games I've played through, some I've played for a handful of hours. There's still games in here that I haven't even touched yet. And, I buy a lot less as the years have gone on, but I'm getting just as many games now because of all the freebies I'm getting through Prime Gaming. So I don't know if anyone has Prime, but you should sign up for Prime Gaming because not only do you get games through them, but you got to use their app, but you get free games through Epic Store, through Good Old Games. Sometimes they're just through Windows directly. But again, Good Old Games has been fantastic for me to buy just tons of old collections, and they're DRM free. So you can download these and store them on your system, and the installers are going to work for years and years and years. The only thing that might happen is over time, you might get a newer system and you might have to install them through compatibility mode. And the other thing too is when you see games on here, sometimes don't expect they're going to last forever. Because like I said, the Duke Nukem, Balls of Steel, I'm sure there's others on here that are gone. That one I bought, and that's always a thing. You got to make sure that you don't let something slip away. But they have sales like every month, and you can always find stuff on sale. And like I said, if you're sensible and just spend a few bucks every month, or once in a while you may go crazy and you're like, I'm just going to spend $50 and get a ton of stuff. Because I think there was one time where I say 50, it was probably like maybe 30 some dollars and got a bunch of collections that were on sale, which was a lot easier to do in the early years because they had so much classic games that started pounding their systems back in the early days. But again, I've got more than I could ever play on this, and it's just my love for PC games. It's like going back to stuff that you couldn't afford back then because games were not cheap. I mean, if you were spending in the 90s, $40 to $50 on a game, sometimes 60 on PC games, that was a lot of money back then because the dollar value now has just dropped. So it was much more expensive back then. So I like being able to get all these deals now. And there's stuff that I'll take for free that I might not ever play. But I'm like, sometimes there's freebies. I'm just like, no, I'll look up the reviews and be like, they're like, it's a garbage game. Yeah, it might be free, but it ain't worth taking. I don't want to fill up my whole catalog with crap. So I just take the stuff that I see decent reviews on. If something's over a 7 and it's a freebie, I'm going to take it because I may like it, or one of the kids may like it someday because it might not be in my wheelhouse, or even my wife might like it because it's so handy. You can download the installers and put it on any system in your house. So that works out perfectly. They do have a Steam style interface where you can just download games through that and it can track things and stuff, which it's fine, but I just prefer to be able to download the individual installers, have them all stored on a backup drive, and just have access to them. They do updates, so you might want to be able to, get a new version that has some fixes or something if it's a little glitchy. But for the most part, everything that I usually play, whatever glitches they're talking about, I usually don't notice. But if there is something that comes up, I'll just refresh with a newer download. So there's my 15 years of being on Good Old Games. So hopefully, it's not too late. A lot of these games are still there, and some of them still go on sale. They might be a little more expensive on sale now than they used to be, but that doesn't mean they're not a good deal still, because with the value of the dollar these days compared to 15 years ago, it's still quite affordable compared to having to spend anywhere from $50 to $60 on a new game. And some of these games, not all of them, of course, some of them are just fun to have the experience of trying. But some of these games hold up very well and are better than some modern games that you can spend a lot more money on. So when you calculate it out that way, I mean, it's just, even if you decide, I'm going to put $50 aside and then just chip away at that amount and buy off of this, and you'll realize suddenly, like, oh, this $50 turned into a lot of gameplay. So it's really cool. Again, it's not an ad for good old games. It's just showing you that another way that I do gaming, and do it very affordably these days, because there's no reason for the most part for me anymore. I was part of that in the 90s, when everything was coming out new, spending $80 on Mortal Kombat 2, $90 on Phantasy Star 2. Those, and consider what the dollar was worth back then in 1989 and 90 and stuff. I mean, I'm not spending that kind of money anymore. I will wait till something comes down in price. Even if it's something I really want, I will not buy it new anymore. I will wait until it at least drops at minimum down $20, if it's a $60 game. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this and enjoyed looking through some of the games, or all the games I got on Good Old Games. And maybe this inspires you to have a little trip down memory lane and buy a few games that you have forgotten about, because there's a lot more on there that I just never was interested in, but you may find fascinating and interesting, or games that you missed out on. There you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was something new or interesting, or even if it's old and you guys use it too, let me know in the comments and tell me your experiences on Good Old Games. I've never had a bad one, so I can't complain, but I'm sure some people do. But either way, I'd like to know how your experience was. And thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next time. So long.